The government can come along at any time and say that you owe X amount of millions in tax. They just make it up as they go along. This has happened to me in the UK before. They've come along with a tax bill of multiple millions of pounds, which they just made up out of thin air. And then you've got to go to tribunal, you've got to fight them. They can freeze your assets while you're going through that process. This can happen to absolutely anyone. I think it's also happened to members of your family in a different situation.
I'll talk on that in a
second. They just come along and freeze your assets, and it means you have no access to your money. And at that stage, there's very little that you can do, which is why long before anything goes wrong, you have to have offshore accounts, you have to have offshore companies, you have to have at least a percentage of your assets in a safe haven that can never be touched. And that means if the government in your country come along and they freeze your assets or they do any of these bad things that they do on a very regular basis, then at least you've got part of your wealth safely in another country. And that is I can't stress the importance of this for anyone in business, anyone even with a small amount of wealth, a few 100,000, whatever. You don't have to have tens of millions to put these strategies into effect. Anyone, even with small amounts of money, should be doing this, and they need to do it yesterday. They really do. You should not be waiting around to do this.
Bureaucrats are basically, and government officials are basically worse than the thieves that they put in prison. They are stealing more than those thieves.
Much worse.
There's just so many levels to it. I mean, we've talked about, you saying about my family. Brendan, my uncle, he was basically an accountant for various companies. Basically, the HMRC or the IRS came and said that he owed 4 million in tax. He would then go on to have a heart attack only a week later. And what was so shocking about it is, we have proof of wealth, prove your wealth, blah, blah, blah. What about proof of poverty and why you shouldn't have to pay something? He was living in his mum's basement and he was sharing her car with her. How the hell is someone like that due to pay 4 million in tax?
But this happens.
And you then cause them to have a heart attack.
You never hear about these cases. You only hear about the high-profile ones. But how many people did the government kill indirectly because of the stress and the pressure they put them under of taking them through legal processes? And as is often said, the process is the punishment. But how many people never actually get through the process because they can't handle the stress, because they have heart attacks or get cancer, they get some form of ill health, which is directly or indirectly caused by the pressure that we put under all this government bullshit of freezing assets and pursuing them aggressively. And nobody ever talks about that, which is a tragedy in itself that it's never mentioned.
And this is why it's so crucial to have multiple layers. We've basically touched on two, which, just setting up something abroad, which we can obviously assist with. Then also having a trust, that's the second layer. And then what we said about the property stuff, with having multiple companies owning individual properties. And then a third layer, which we actually touched on before, is then even looking at potential third parties or friendly third parties who maybe you do owe money to, or whatever, or your own company who owes you money could put a charge on your property, your individual home, but also maybe one of those investments that you have, so that if anyone came afterwards, that they wouldn't be able, they would just be like, well, there's no point going to court.
You can make sure that you have no free assets. So if the government comes along, tries to put a freeze on your property, for example, then there's a 99.9% mortgage on it, and they're not it would be structured in such a way that it's not the companies that own the mortgage are not connected to you. It would be done. It has to be done. This is why you need expert help to do these things, but it can be done. You should be going out of your way to make sure you own nothing in your own name, in the country that you're living in.
Yeah, totally true. And even I've considered doing the sort of digital nomad thing about, having the UK as my home for my home, but actually not really being here much at all, or doing the 90-day thing, and then just on that basis you don't really have to pay anything at all. But and then
I think that nowadays you probably need to have a residency overseas, somewhere like a tax residency. You not somewhere you have to live, but you have to kind of extricate yourself from the whole tax system in the country that's considered your home country. So you could easily, for example, you probably don't want to live in Ireland, but you could get a tax number in Ireland and then move your tax residence to Ireland, and then you spend most of your time roaming the globe and following the sun.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You've given me a tip there, so I'm gonna use that. Cheers. Lovely.
Sir, you gotta pay your taxes. Taxes? How much? I don't know. Oh, okay, I owe nothing. No, you do. Okay, how much? I don't know. Habibi, who knows? Ideally you, sir. How am I supposed to know? Well, you gotta do your calculations. How? We have tools for that. Yeah, why don't you use them then? They're for you to use. Why me? It's your taxes. Yeah, but you want some. Oh yeah, we do. Habibi, what if I don't pay? Oh, we take your stuff. Take my stuff, I'll buy more. You also go to prison. I don't want to go to prison. Then do the calculations and pay. Oh Allah, what if I make mistake? That's tax fraud. But it's mistake that you made. How will I even know I make mistake? We'll let you know, don't worry. So you do know how much I owe? No. Then how will you know I make mistake? We have tools for that. Then just use the tools, ya ahmar. They're different tools. Also, I'm not getting paycheck now. I'm living on saving. Oh, you're getting paid cash. What? We know. How do you know that? We got tools for that.
Please don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and join our Discord chat room linked in the description so you can see these plays and get in these opportunities when we do.
In the modern world, great leaders resolve their conflicts with words.
As for me, I like the stock.
Order filled.